Today we're going to be exploring some crazy ways that software publishers tried to stop people pirating their games in the 80s. Back when video games were mainly released on cassette, there was obviously an issue with piracy, as if you had two cassette decks or even a friend with an extra cassette deck you could borrow, you could quite easily copy a game. Therefore, video game publishers had to get quite creative and find methods around this. This was in the form of copy protection. And today we're going to be looking at 3 different types, including the infamous lens lock. And the first game we're going to be looking at is Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles for the Amstrad CPC. And yes, you did hear that right, I said Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, as that was the name it was initially released under in the UK and parts of Europe, because apparently the term ninja was deemed too violent for children. The copy protection for this game was in the form of a code lookup chart included in the manual, printed on a very dark background to try and stop people from whacking it in a photocopier, although it does have the unintended consequence of being very difficult to actually read the codes, and in the modern age quite tricky to pick up on camera. So, as supposedly this cannot be photocopied, obviously the first thing I'm going to do is to test that theory and whack it into my photocopier. And I have struggled a bit, but I've managed to put my laser copier up here so we can give it a test. And I'm just copying it in black and white as it would have been done in the 80s. So if we give this a second, it should be copied and we can see what it looks like. There it is, it's coming now. Have a look. Yeah, as expected, it has copied. It's just giving me a monochromatic black rectangle. So obviously the copy protection has worked. Okay, so I've got the game loaded onto the Amstrad and my manual ready, and it's just loaded. It's got Shredder on the screen. It's telling me to press a key, so let's do that. And now it has a message. Shredder requires you to type code from your manual. 4p across 15 down. Now, I'm not going to do what Shredder wants. To start off with, I'm just going to type in the wrong code just to see what happens. So if I just do like 3333, assume that's not the right code. Oh, Shredder disagrees with an exclamation mark, so he wasn't very happy then. Let's do the right, we'll do the right code now. So it's got the same message, it's just reloaded with the same message. So C across 2 down, which is quite nice because that should be an easy one to find, although it is hard to read on here. Let's go C across and 2 down. So the code seems to be 8788. So let's type that in, 8788. Shredder accepts that. Yay, okay, so that is how that works, and usually, obviously, we would go on to play the game, but today I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be looking at another type of copy protection, so let's move on to the next one. And the next game we're going to be looking at is the very popular British classic released in the early 80s, Jet Set Willy, for the ZX Spectrum. Some of you may know this as the sequel to the equally as popular Manic Miner. Just a side note, as we are talking about Jet Set Willy, especially for those of you that saw my video design and make your own 3D printed 8-bit figures, and if you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link to it in the description. But a little while back, I designed my own Jet Set Willy and Manic Miner figures that are available to download on myprintables.com page, and I'll also leave a link to that in the description. But that is enough about that, let's get on with it. The copy protection for this game was in the form of another code lookup chart, but this time with colours instead of numbers. I assume this is because people would not have had easy access to a colour copier in the 80s, and if you tried to copy this on a normal black and white copier, it'd just be a monochromatic grid. Okay, the game is loaded here, and we already have the copy protection screen up, which I will admit is not as exciting as the screen that was on for the Ninja Turtles game, but it gives us the code is a 0. And the way this works is that within each different section, there's 4 different colours that correspond to a number that is seen on the screen. So on a 0 on here is blue, pink, pink, green. So if you look, blue is 1, pink is 3, and green is 4. Press that and press enter, and there we go. We can already hear the Jet Set Willy music, and we got the code correct. And I haven't tested doing it wrong on this one because it is pretty brutal. If you do 2 tries and don't get the copy protection code correct, it completely resets the game and you have to load it again, which takes quite a while. However, people did find ways around this Jet Set Willy copy protection by getting creative. A bit of graph paper, some coloured pens, and maybe an hour or so, and this could be easily copied out. The publishers then got wise to this, and when this game was finally released on the Amstrad CPC, the copy protection looked like this. And carry on pulling it out. It's very long, considerably longer, and I think we can all admit you wouldn't want to have to sit and copy this one out. And finally, we move on to one of the strangest and, from what I've heard, one of the most loathed forms of copy protection, the lens lock. I have two different types of lens lock here, one for the game Tomahawk and the other for the game TT Racer, both on the ZX Spectrum, with the lens lock being unique to the game it came with. So you see the one for Tomahawk has Tomahawk written on it, and the one for TT Racer says TT Racer on it. So I've got TT Racer loaded up onto my Spectrum, and you can see here the first copy protection screen, which is a calibration for the lens lock, because the way this works, it needs to be fitted to your TV. So you can see we have the two bars here that the lens lock needs to fit in between, and the CRT I'm doing this on is a 14-inch one, which is pretty standard for the time, so it looks like already it is the right size. But if I did need to adjust it, say for a bigger TV, I can use symbol shift or the space key. So if I press the symbol shift key, you can see the bars coming in and getting smaller, and then space goes the other way. But if I put that on one more time, that looks the right size and good to move on. Okay, I've moved on and I've got another calibration screen for the lens lock. This time just checking if you've got the right one for the game. So the way this works is each lens lock is unique to the game it comes with. It has these prisms in here that will show you the right code, and you fold it over like this, and we know it's the right way around because it has the words here. It says this side out, and then also the top, left and right, so we know which way to orient it onto the TV. So if I put that on here, just over the top of the middle, we should be able to see the word OK, which I can see. It might be a bit difficult to pick up on camera, but I'm going to try my best. And now that we can see OK, we know that it is the right size, it's calibrated correctly, and we've got the right lens lock, so we can finally move on to getting the right code. So now we can press enter to get to the code input screen, and it says enter code on here, and I'm going to work very quickly because if I don't do this in time, it will time out and make me try again. And I think you get 2 or 3 tries before it reloads the game, which obviously we do not want. So if I put that on here and try and see what it is, it's like OB. This is very tricky. I can't imagine having to do this every time you want to play a game, but OB, wrong code. Okay, let's do another go. I'm gonna try my best to get this one right this time, because I do not want this to reset. Let's see, it's the right way around. EC B. Okay, this is very difficult. BC. Fingers crossed, wrong code. Okay, I think I have one more go and then it's gonna reset and it will be not fun. So IT? Let me try and hold it so I can see, move my head around. IT. Let's try. Yay! It's in. Okay, we got it on the third time. Lucky, we're into the game. And as I said, absolute nightmare that was, but we got there eventually. So that was lens lock, and I genuinely cannot imagine having to do that every time I wanted to play a game. But lens lock by the end was packaged with 12 different games, and the most famous of those being Elite for the ZX Spectrum. However, there was a bit of controversy there, and lens lock was later removed from that game, partly due to an incident where 500 boxes of the game were shipped with the wrong lens lock in them. And there was also issues with getting the technology to work and calibrate with different sizes of TV. So for something that must have sounded great in concept, in reality it just wasn't usable, as we saw. So I hope you enjoyed today's video exploring some 80s anti-software piracy measures that we had here in the UK. Definitely let me know in the comments any copy protection methods you've experienced, whether that's new or old, as I'd love to hear about them. But that's all for today. I'll see you next time.